Hello. I'm getting started a little bit early because I'm trying to test out a new scene in OBS where hopefully if I've done it right I can show part of my desktop without revealing everything, but as you see here, this is what happens when you see it with when OBS is running and also visible. So let me hide OBS and see what it looks like. I have multiple computers here, so I'm trying to see what it looks like in the other one, but there's a bit of a lag on it, so okay, that's pretty good. I like it. Okay. Yeah, it's just a little, I wanted to check the cropping, but that's pretty good, I think. Basically, I'm trying to do something today where I'm going to be showing you how to do things in different windows and with different things opening and closing, and usually OBS works by capturing like a window, and that works great, except you can't see like pop-ups and like menus and things that are going to be necessary in this case as I'm working on it. So, okay, cool. Good to know. But I will go ahead and I guess I can switch back. I guess the weird part is going to be like I can't switch without going through this. Like I'm going to have to go back through this each time, and then, now I'm back to normal. But yeah, it's just that little awkward handoff, but I guess there's no way around that. I can't think of anything. I mean, if I had actually, maybe you can do that with studio mode in OBS. I've never really explored that. I don't really know. Speaking of things I haven't really explored much, I've started actually trying out a couple different things within Twitch. Like I realized you can actually like post your schedule ahead of time on Twitch. So I don't know what that, like how that shows up to someone who is following me. But at least if you go to my Twitch page, you'll see when my next stream is scheduled for, which I think is pretty useful because I do often direct people to my Twitch page, and then that seems like the kind of thing they would want to know if they go there. So maybe that works. I also tried out like a Google Calendar integration, but I don't know if that worked, and I don't know if the thing that I now see on my Twitch page comes from that, or if it is this other thing that I found I can do to set a schedule. So I don't know, but it's different things I'm trying. Great. Well, I actually have one viewer. Great. Hello, whoever you are. I think I'll just put out a tweet, let anyone who wants to watch me, in case there's anyone who wants to watch on Twitter. I've also been finding other people that I know who are on Twitch, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so let's put that out there. I've noticed some other channels, they do like a waiting room look. So when you first open it up, it's like something's happening, but it's like a video loop or like the loading screen or something, and then the person shows up. So I might do that. I don't know if that's really, it's kind of gimmicky. I mean, for me to do that, I would feel kind of gimmicky. It makes sense in other cases if you're going to be talking about a game to have like that game's loading screen up there with like a countdown to when you're going to start actually playing. That makes a lot of sense. For this kind of use of it, I don't know if that makes sense or not. I did try once in the spring. I had like a waiting message or like a be right back message set up with, I was able to get two webcams running at the same time, and I had one pointed at my my bird feeder that was frequently used by squirrels, and so I was, so I can make that part of the persona that I was putting out through Twitch. And I don't know if anyone really, I don't know if that was necessary or not. And also, like, it was kind of tricky to keep two webcams running. Like Linux and OBS were like, I don't know, they were fighting. So I might try to do that again, but we'll see. And speaking of hardware, I have ordered something that hopefully will work with this microphone. I have this microphone that I have been using, and it's pretty good, but it doesn't work. Like, I can't plug it directly into my computer.
And I don't know how I think the audio sounds okay just with the webcam microphone, but it's kind of echoey. So this microphone works a lot better, but I can only use it currently on my phone. So for the video tutorials that I've been doing, I record like visual stuff with OBS, and then I use the microphone on my phone, and then I stitch them back together in the video editor. Like I synchronize the audio and the visuals, and that is kind of tedious, and that's actually why it took me about 6 hours yesterday to get that tutorial done. So anyway, I hope this is coming through okay. It looks kind of like my audio is lagging, or my visuals are lagging the audio as I look at the preview in OBS, but that doesn't always mean it looks that way live. So I'm going to try not to worry about it and try not to look at myself too much because it's kind of distracting me. So I don't know, but anyway, it looks like I got 2 viewers, so I'm going to get into some content here. But if of those 2 viewers, like if you're in my class Discord channel, you can say hi there, or if you're not, you can say hi on Twitch if you feel like it. And let me know if the audio and visual stuff is syncing okay or not. Sometimes I have to restart OBS to get that back to a better synchronization. And you know, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you just feel like saying hi, that's always nice to see if someone's out there watching, but no pressure if you don't feel like doing that too. So today I'm going to be talking about glitch art some more and hopefully demonstrating 2 or 3 techniques. And these are things that, if you're in my class, these are the techniques you have to choose from for this project. I might show you a 4th one, but I'm still figuring it out. So it's one that I am struggling with a bit in terms of the best way to present it to you, because I'm still kind of figuring it out myself. But I'm going to talk today about using Audacity. I did a video yesterday, but I'll show you that a little bit again today. I'm also going to talk about using Hex Editor to glitch an image file, and then I'll try to show pixel sorting also. I found out there is a different way to do pixel sorting than the way I've done it before, so I have to kind of figure that out, but I don't mind figuring it out live on the stream. It looks pretty straightforward. It's just I've never done it this way, and the big difference is that I usually do it on a command line or a standalone Python script, but there is a way you can import a lot of that same code into a Colab notebook and run it that way. I think I need to practice a bit with that. So if I have time on the stream today, I want to keep this under an hour. I may try that as well. Just try it live. And then, if I won't have time to do this, but if I get into the other kind of glitching that I'm interested in demoing or playing with on the live stream, it maybe is data moshing AVI videos. And like I mentioned yesterday, the way that I have done that in the past won't work anymore because I don't currently have a way to run that version of the software, AviDmux, which is what I've been using. There is a Python script I might try, and there's also a couple other methods. So I'm exploring that one. That's much more exploratory though than pixel sorting. I've done a lot of pixel sorting, but data moshing just takes such finesse that it's hard to. I don't know. It's kind of hard to get to my mind around how I'm going to present that to you all. So let's take a look at a few things. I also want to talk a bit about some assigned reading for the class. So let me get into that a little bit first, actually, because it's right here. I do want you to take a look at Rosen Mcmahon's Glitch Studies Manifesto. This is one place that it's hosted, and this is what I've linked to in the announcement with today's agenda. I'll add a couple more directions in a Canvas discussion page about some questions to think about while you're reading this, but I'll also just mention them now. One of the things that we should look for in this is, it's an example of glitch aesthetics. And so when we're thinking about what glitch looks like, this is a good example. And Rosen Mcmahon has plenty of other works, and Sam did a good job in her profile of linking to some of that and summarizing it. So that's what we can start building our idea of a glitch, a visual vocabulary for glitch. So if you look at this webpage, for example, you can see several characteristics, hopefully, that jump out. So you've got lots and lots of harsh contrast. So not foreground, background, positive, negative space kind of contrast, but just a pretty evenly distributed texture of black and white contrast, very harsh. We've got black and white for most of it, but then we've got neon, greenish, thing blue on a bright blue or purple on blue, and it's kind of hard to look at. It kind of gives you a headache. It kind of makes you squint a little bit. And these are the physical, this is the affective part of glitch art, that it sort of makes you uncomfortable physically. And you can kind of see that here, especially the stuff that's moving, right? It kind of makes you nauseous a little bit as you look at it. And that's on purpose. Like, this isn't just bad design. This is someone who spent a lot of time making each of these effects and choosing these, and it's on purpose. What it does to us, though, is always a bit unpredictable, and so that's why, you know, it's kind of hard to look at sometimes. Let me close that view. So you can also see as you hover over it that it also moves and wiggles and twitches. And in a lot of conventional ways of thinking about design, this is bad design, but that's kind of the point. The point is to get away from the conventions of design in order to expose the conventions, to make us think about those conventions. Like, why is it the case that we would not expect this to move? You know, this is something that then lets us think about our own design choices when we try to make something good, but also like what, you know, one axiom of design is that it should be invisible, like that we shouldn't notice what design is doing to us to influence our decisions and our behaviors and constrain our choices. And this is something where we definitely notice the design. And I think one effect of that is then that we hopefully start noticing other design, which could be insidious or manipulative in certain ways. And so we want to try to understand that. Anyway, that's all thinking about one way of thinking about what is the point of glitch art. Like, what is glitch art glitching? Like, what is it breaking? Why is it breaking those things? What do we learn from that? Also, I think it's just I think it is beautiful. Like, I think it's a different kind of aesthetic experience, and I certainly enjoy it. So I find that discomfort pleasurable. Like, I physically like looking at these things, so I'm okay with it. Now, this is just the web page, and you can probably look at other things on this page, but notice this was back in 2010, so this has been out here for a little while now. You can actually read the PDF down here, and you click there to view the PDF, and it loads. I've actually seen different versions of this and different layouts, but this one is fine, and I encourage you to read it. It's not very long. It gives us some ideas kind of along the lines of what I was talking about. Like, what are we saying when we talk about technology needing to be smooth and easy and frictionless? Like, what are we hiding with that? And this is a way to start thinking about it. That's why it's called a manifesto. It's a statement about purpose and power and politics, and it gives us some ideas about, again, like, why glitch and what does glitch accomplish? Like, what is the point of glitching besides just it looks cool? What are some ways we can think about it having some meaning? You know, there are significant choices you make when you pick an image. Let's say you choose a portrait of someone and you're going to make it glitchy. Like, who do you choose for that? Does it matter? Like, do you choose someone you admire and you use the glitches as a way to kind of honor them and put them on a pedestal, or do you choose someone who you don't like and you want to make them look bad? These are different movements that aesthetics can do in this kind of context. So, you know, think about these things when you're making your own glitch work. So students, take a look at this. I'll make sure the link is clear in Canvas, and I'll give you some discussion questions. But think about these things now, and if you have some thoughts now, put them in the chat in Discord or on Twitch. You know, what are the what is the point of glitch art besides it looks neat? And Rosen Mcmahon has some ideas, but you probably have some ideas too. So let me know what you think. I'd be happy to hear and talk about that here. As another way of thinking about this is just something that was in my head this morning. This is actually an older article, but the point of the article is talking about, this is actually, I remember reading this article, but not noticing at the time that it was by Kenneth Goldsmith, who is a poet who does work that he calls uncreative writing. But this is an article about the art of Google Books, or the visible work of Google Books. And some of this was collected in a Tumblr blog. I believe it's not been updated for a while, but this is a Tumblr blog called The Art of Google Books, where we see lots and lots of basically scanning errors. You know, Google Books attempts to have every book in it, like that was their goal. And in doing that, they had to employ lots and lots of laborers in this process of scanning these books. And sometimes they make errors. Sometimes there are just sort of technological glitches. And these are different kinds of glitches, but I think what's interesting about them is how they expose that human edge, like the edge of the media. So it's not just like the book as some kind of pure information. The book is always shaped by the container you put it in, And this is a way in which the container becomes more visible than usual. As it does that, we start to notice and we can experience the labor. Like we start thinking about the person whose finger this is down here. Like who are they? What are they doing? Like, whose hands are these? And why these hands don't look like my hands? So who is the person who has these hands? What is their life like? What are their choices like? I mean, so many questions that then we can start thinking about. And again, the glitch cracks open this otherwise smooth exchange of information and gives us access to the human labor here. And it's fascinating. Some of these too also just expose the edges of the print medium and the failures of the print medium. Not failures, but just like the interesting nuances of it, like this rip in this page here. I actually shared one. I don't know if I can find it on here, but I did, like, how Tumblr blogs work. You can submit things to them. Oh, gross! Is that a tapeworm or something? Okay, sorry. Lots of fingers, but I submitted one that was actually an error in the book House of Leaves, which was really interesting because House of Leaves is a book about performative typography and kind of looking unusual. But there was some error in the Google Books Reader preview of it that I remember I shared on here. And it was posted, but I don't remember how far back that is, where like most of the page was black for some reason and there were little yellow boxes all over it. And I don't know how that happened. I was not able to reproduce it later, but it happened and I got a picture of it and screenshotted it, shared it here. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, it's just beautiful work, right? And again, it's all much of this is accidental. These are errata. These are the things that an editor or a supervisor, somebody would come along later and fix. But these were errors that were captured before they could be fixed, and therefore tell us a lot more about the circumstances of this book's existence and life as an original like print artifact and now digital artifact, and the human involvement in that exchange. So really interesting stuff and related to Glyph. So I thought I would share that. Today I did want to just talk a little bit about Audacity glitching. I don't know if I need to go through it again because I did a whole video about it, and I feel like I'm pretty happy with the tutorial that I wrote up in Canvas. So if you're interested in doing that, check that out. That's the main thing I would recommend. Let me see. I can always forget how to navigate. I've started using this module structure in Canvas, and it's like finding my way through it is kind of unusual sometimes. So if you want to learn how to use Audacity to data bend, I recommend this tutorial. I guess there's probably others out there, but I'm pretty happy with the one I did. I think it's pretty thorough, hopefully, and pretty good at explaining things. Check out the video too, where I go through it. The video goes into a little bit more depth, but the steps here should be pretty good. I've got screenshots of the different things you need to do, and then I've got on the GIF here, I got a slideshow of different outcomes you can get with Audacity glitching. These are all produced in Audacity. This one, this is the invert effect applied to the whole image. This is the original image. This is the phaser effect applied to the whole image. I really like the look of this phaser effect. And this was, I did the echo effect, but I made the echo, I forget the term they use, but the time of the echo, like how much echo to add, I made it really high. And I applied it to the whole thing, and it made that really splashed out, kind of washed out look of it. You can kind of see Macho Man's features repeated in those shapes, but it's not in much detail. So yeah, check that out. I don't want to say it's simple because you do have lots of steps you have to make sure you do right. But once you get that workflow figured out, you can iterate it pretty easily. Like you can keep trying new things until you get something you like. You can also, like for these, I'm doing the whole image. Of course, you can combine different effects and do one effect on part of it, another effect on a different part of it, and overlap and do all kinds of interesting things with this. In fact, let me show you. Maybe if I can find it quickly. One of my students last year did a really good job, I think, with Audacity glitching. Bianca, let me see if she's got it on here. Yes, she's got. So this is her pixel sorting gallery, but yeah, so these are Audacity glitches as well, and I think really creepy and really good. So she took as a theme portraits. So she took portraits of women and did different glitches on them and really transformed their meaning, I think. And that's what I thought was really successful about this. I mean, these are interesting portraits anyway, But then you look at the glitched version of these. I'm just laughing because I just noticed I believe that's my mom who just said hi in the Twitch chat. So hi, Mom. Thanks for watching today. It's always good to know someone's out there. So if you look at these, I mean, you almost have to find the originals to compare them, but they've become so much more energetic and haunting, and some of these others that she had some more that aren't included here, but certainly creepy, but I find that they intensify something that was there in the original that you didn't necessarily notice, but then you start noticing it more or thinking it and looking at the original again after you've seen the transformation of it. And that's what I think is really cool about glitch art, especially when you have something like this. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to go through the whole process of Audacity. It's quite a few steps, so hopefully that the video works. There's a hawk in my backyard. It just landed on my garden fence post. Hoping it's not messing with my garden. But if it's out, sorry, I'm going to watch this hawk for a second because there's a mole back there that I've been trying to get rid of or encouraged to leave. And maybe that hawk is going to... No, he just left. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's good to know that there's a hawk coming through. Good to know, but also, a little worrisome for the rabbits in the backyard, but hopefully they'll stay hidden pretty well. Anyway, sorry. That's the great thing about working in this room is that I can see my whole backyard from here, and I get distracted by things that I see sometimes. It's great, but it's also distracting. Let's take a look at doing a different glitch technique with Hex Editor. So let me kind of shrink a bunch of things here so that it's easier to see what I'm doing, and then I'll kind of take you through it. All right, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on my other monitor to make sure it looks the way I want it to. What we're going to do here is use something called a Hex Editor. Hex is short for hexadecimal. A Hex Editor is a software tool for editing files, and it lets you manipulate the data of the file at a really low level. Byte by byte, essentially. It's not something that I often need to do for any real purposes, but it is a useful way to understand how files are put together, and then also ways to manipulate those files to produce glitch effects. I've started working on this one. This is a portrait of Andrei Markov. Remember, we talked about Markov chains. That's the mathematical model for generating text sequences that mimic the sequences in other texts. We did that last week. This is Markov, and I just happen to have this JPEG on my desktop, so I thought it would be a good one to try. And I've started on it now. You probably can't tell. There's a pretty subtle kind of echo effect here. I think the hawk came back. So I'm going to see what else I can do with this. But this is also, like any kind of glitching, kind of exploratory. I have some ideas about what might happen, but this is even less predictable than the Audacity methods. At least with the Audacity methods, I kind of know what some of the effects will do, and I can kind of predict which part of the image I'm applying them to. This method is pretty different, so we'll see. I'm using a hex editor called WX Hex Editor, which is in beta mode, and it's for Linux. Let me show you a couple things though, because hex editors, it's a common tool, and you can find one for different platforms. I'm trying to remember which ones. Oh, there's actually an online hex editor. That might be a good option if you don't want to download something, or if you can't. I don't know what kind of, I don't know what the capabilities are of this tool, but it might be worth trying. I'll try this out later and let you know. Let's see, what is the one I use on a Mac? Yeah, so on a Mac, I use one called Hex Fiend, and it works pretty well. And it's a free download, and it works great as far as I've used it. The one I've used for Windows, I don't have a Windows computer right now, so I haven't used one lately, but I think it's called HXD. Yeah, I think this is the one I've used before. Yeah, this looks familiar. So this is what it looks like, but they all have the same basic features in common, so it doesn't matter totally. On Linux, I used to use one called Bless, B-L-E-S-S. However, it kept crashing, and so I went to the package manager for my distribution, and I found this one instead, and one of the top reviews on it said, this works way better than Bless. So it seemed like a good endorsement, and so far it's been great. So I'm going to actually close it and then reopen it to show you the whole process that we do here. Not nearly as many steps as Audacity, but a couple things to watch out for, I guess. So this is how they look, and of course the menus will be slightly different if you're using HXD or HexFiend. The hawk is just flying back and forth. I don't know if he's hunting. Okay, so you go to File and then Open, and I'm going to just start with a straight up JPEG file. Now, one thing you'll want to make sure that you do with this is make sure you don't overwrite the original file. So I went ahead and made a copy before I even started working on this. I did find in working with WX Hex Editor, this one, that it actually prevented me from overwriting the original, which was great, because you can definitely break a file with a Hex Editor. Like, you can do something to a file that will make it impossible to view it ever again. and there's no undo, there's no Control Z. So it's something that you want to be careful with and manage your versions with it. So I went ahead and made this copy already, and that's the one I'm going to open here. Now, when I did the Audacity video, the first step I did was actually to convert my JPEG to a BMP file, because that's a much smaller header and it lowers the risk that you're going to destroy the file beyond recognition. That also works for hex editing, but the glitches are not going to be as interesting in this method, and I'll try it later, but I'm going to try to work on a JPEG here. That's because the glitches that I'm going to be doing are going to introduce problems into the compression algorithm. So they're going to mess with in this case, this one uses the XIF algorithm. It's going to make errors appear in that, and that's going to make more interesting effects than what would happen if I were just moving pixels around. Both are interesting, but this is what I'm going to do for now. So I learned this kind of recently, but so the header part, and you can see it over here on the right. Let me explain this a bit. What I'm looking at. This in the middle, these are hexadecimal values for the actual data, the bytes encoded in this file that are stored on the hard drive. And this is in hexadecimal format. So hexadecimal, remember, counts from 0 to F. Instead of starting over at after 9, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 0 for like 10, and then adds 1 to the display. So you know how counting works. Like we intuitively count with a decimal system. However, there are other ways of counting, and hexadecimal system is more often used in computers. Hexadecimal goes up to F before it starts over again with the next place to the left. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. And that's why you see all these Fs in here. It's basically shorter. It takes up less physical space, and that's the point of it. So what I learned recently is that you don't want to mess with the head of a JPEG, and you can actually read, there's actually textual data, ASCII text data in the head of here to explain to someone looking at this what this was. So somebody manipulated this file with Adobe Photoshop at some point. Not me, but Photoshop leaves that little mark in the head of a JPEG file. There's some other information there that my computer needs in order to display this JPEG correctly, and that's in the header. We can't mess with that, or else the image won't be visible anymore, and it'll break beyond the point of usefulness. It just won't open at all. So you have to be careful where we start messing with it. But there is a place, supposedly, and so far this is proved to be the case, if you look for it, where you'll see a sequence FFDA, and supposedly the first instance of this, let's see, is supposed to be, you know what, I thought it was somewhere else. I thought there was an earlier one. But anyway, supposedly that's the place where no, that's right, I think. That's where the header ends, and then the actual image data starts. So as long as we mess with things after this, we should be okay. I say should because it's still certainly possible that I will break this beyond recognition. But that's supposed to, I mean, from my very brief experience with this concept of this idea that this is where the head ends, FFDA should be the flag that lets us start messing with it. So let's start messing with it. Like in Audacity, there are all kinds of different effects and things you can apply. In a Hex Editor, it's really just a matter of adding stuff and copying and pasting stuff and sort of moving data around randomly until you get something interesting. You can even go over here on the right in a hex editor and just type things like, hello, these are words. And it didn't even, did it even type? Where did it go? There they go. It's like jumping around weirdly. Yeah, it's like, it's not meant to be a text editor, as you can see here. Wow, okay, there's a lot of other code in here. Let's see. All right, so I don't know what just happened. I just typed some random characters. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go to Save As, and let's call this a Markov. We'll call this 3.jpg. And I feel like what I did just now is probably going to break it, but let's see. Okay, no, it didn't actually. It shifted that echoey thing around a little bit. You probably can't tell on the stream that much, but it did shift it around, and I don't know. It looks ugly, but not quite ugly enough yet, right? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to actually try to move a bunch of pixels around or something around. So I'm scrolling down to a point about like halfway down the file, and here in the middle, I'm going to select some of the hex. And as much as it'll let me, basically. I'm going to right click and cut this out. Then scroll down a little bit. Not all the way to the end, but maybe 2/3 of the way down. Put my cursor at a random point and then hit paste. So this should hopefully make a more interesting difference. We'll call this a Markov 4.jpg. And I broke it too much. This actually tells me a bit about what I broke, and that's kind of nice. It says I broke unsupported marker type 67. Okay. I don't know what that means, but you know, if I did, that would be helpful. All right, so I'm actually going to start over again. So I'm going to, no, I don't want to save this file. So this was one of my manipulations. I'm going to go all the way back to my original file, which is, this is the original file. There's no changes yet. Let's see what I can do with this. I'll make a new copy. I call this work, so this is the one I'm going to work on. And let me open it in my Hex Editor. Let's see what else I can do. I actually noticed header code after that FFDA, so that's what I think may have happened. I was probably jumping the gun as far as which parts I was allowed to mess with. So let's see, there could be multiple. I mean, it's a pretty short sequence, so it could be the case that there are multiple, you know, instances of it, and there's only one that's actually that, or it could just be totally wrong. Like you can see on the right here, there's definitely text here. This is definitely header text. This is XML data about the image. Oh, and then we got a big blank spot. And then maybe this is where it starts. See all those smiley faces. Interesting. Okay. This is also a place. There's a cryptographic or secret document method called steganography. Not stenography, but steganography, where you hide a message in a computer file. And this is one way you can do it. Like you can type a message here, and then theoretically, if someone else knows to look for it in a hex editor, they can see your message. Like you can say, hello. I'm not sure why I can't seem to. I guess the byte order is set up in a different way than what I expect. All right, well, let me try another copy paste section, maybe a slightly smaller section just in case. So I will cut this and then scroll down just a little bit and then paste it. See what happens. I've noticed this is where the hex editor actually prevents me from overwriting the original, which is nice. JPEG. Let's see this one. Okay, so it kind of works. You can sort of see the echo down there. This is all really subtle. I'm wanting this to be a bit more dramatic. So maybe I should try an image with color in it and see if that makes a difference. That's probably going to give me more to mess with. So let's get another, just to kind of keep the theme, let's get another picture of Markov and see if we can find one in color, and then that should give us some more. That's a different person named Andrei Markov, I guess. I don't know who this person is. A hockey player, I guess? Okay, let's get him. I have no idea who this person is. So we'll get this other Markov, another Markov. And I'm sure he's a great hockey player. I mean, there's lots of pictures of him, so I guess people are interested in who he is. But let's take a look at him in Hex Editor and see what we can do to him. I think we can do more with color, so let's find out. Let's go File, Open. And this was another Markov.jpg. There he is. All right, great. So here again we see the header stuff. The JFIF bit is the algorithm being used here. And let's just see if we do have FFDA. Well, there it is. That certainly looks like it would be the end of the header just based on where that is in relation to other things. And it only occurs there, so I don't know, maybe that's okay. But let's just do a bit of what we did before, just kind of copying and pasting, or cutting and pasting. Let me actually make this bigger so I can select more at once. Say cut. Okay. And we'll say this, let's call this another Markov. So when you make glitch art, you end up with dozens of copies of the same image, but with different iterations on it. Let's see. Hey, there we go. Okay. Certainly a pretty evident what difference that made. It shifted part of his face over to the right. So that's kind of cool. Let's see what else we can do just by moving a few more things around. Let's do Control X and then put this. What if I put this like way down here at the end? So we'll call this one another Markov 3. Wait, where did I put that? Oh, here he is. Yeah, pretty small difference at the bottom there. Kind of can't really tell. What if we copy parts of this? I wonder if that would, like, I'm wondering if we change the overall file size, I wonder if that might change the shape of the data and that might cause problems, but let's just try it. So I'm going to copy instead of pasting this time. And then I'm going to, I'm copying instead of cutting, and then let me see if I paste this maybe a few times. So this is going to add data, and I'm not sure that might break it. But of course, we'll try. That's another Markov 4. Hey, there we go. Okay, pretty striking difference. I can't really tell if anything's extra. The image doesn't seem to be taller, but there seems to be quite a bit more work going on. But pretty neat. Okay. So that's hex glitching, and as you can see, it's definitely a trial and error process. What I think is really fun about this process is that color often becomes different, and for whatever reason, often you'll get this sort of bluish and purplish colors emerging out of your image, even if they weren't there to begin with. So pretty cool effect sometimes. And as you can see, you can learn about like different parts of the file to glitch. This one I ended up kind of working on the middle and bottom part of it, but where you are in the file can change that. I believe this one, unlike looking at it with Hex with Audacity, I think actually the top part of the image is like the top part of the file. The data is also the top part of the image visually, whereas in Audacity it's the other way around, where the part at the beginning of the audio view of it is actually the bottom of the image. So slightly different orientation there. Okay, so that was hex glitching. That works pretty well. Let me try pixel sorting, because pixel sorting can be pretty impressive, but this is going to be a bit more of a trial in the sense that I haven't set this up yet. But you know, I'm here. We're still watching, so let's go ahead and let's try it. Right? Why not? So let's try. I'll switch my title here. Pixel sorting. Hopefully. Now I do like to try things out, by the way, and sort of figure it out as I go. I hope that is okay with you if you're watching. I mean, this is something that if I'm doing a pre-recorded video, I do like to have that all figured out and lined up and ready to go. But I think figuring out something live, this is often how I do things in class, and I hope it helps that way. But I think this, I like to model the kind of learning and figuring things out process that I want my students to do. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I know a little bit about pixel sorting, and I've done it before with a standalone script, but I haven't done it in a Colab notebook, I don't think. So I'm going to try it and see how it goes, and if you're here, then maybe you'll find it interesting too. I'm going to make a new Colab notebook. The advantage of working in Colab notebooks, again, is that perhaps you're already working in a Colab notebook. Maybe this is the only way you use Python. So this is a way to do pixel sorting that builds off of the framework that you might already have. And that's why I'm looking at this. Whereas the other way to do it, like on your own computer, would be you'd have to make sure you have the right version of Python. You have to download the scripts. And then you also have to get oriented to working with your computer through the command line or the terminal. And that can be some work. Like that's almost a whole day of class in itself. And it's not as scary as it sounds at first, but often people are intimidated by that or worried about it or afraid they're going to break their computer. But it's really just, like anything else, just sort of practice and getting used to it. And you have to think about your computer in a much more abstract way than most people are used to, and that's something that also takes a bit of work. Something in my smoke bush over there. Can't see what it is though. Oh, you squirrel. Okay, let's try it out. Let's try pixel sorting demo. So I found this on here. I actually found two different packages or modules for doing pixel sorting in a script. And this one actually looks like a port of the one that I've used before. So I'm going to try to use this and see how it goes. And we'll see, right? So let me put the link to it in this notebook, and of course I'll share the notebook. Actually, I'll share the notebook in my Twitch channel, and I don't know if anyone in Discord is watching right now. Doesn't look like it. So I'll put this in the YouTube description and everywhere else I can think of. So let me add some text here to explain what I'm doing. Oh, hello. Cardinal just flew up right next to my window. Sorry, I'm intrigued by birds today, I guess, or they're intrigued by me or something. Come on, let me get it. There we go. All right, I'll write a better introduction to it later. As usual, I like to do all my installing and importing at the top of a notebook under its own heading, so I can rerun this every time I reopen the notebook and also get back to it pretty quickly. So this is Pixel Sort. This is a module that I'm sure is not in the environment, so I need to install it in the environment. This is what I did for Markovify, the Python module for doing Markov chains. Use the exclamation point to address the computer behind the notebook, and I'm going to use, on that computer, I'm going to use the command pip to install pixel sort. So it should just be this here. Let's see if this works. And we also did this for WheezyPrint. Let's see how this goes. Okay, it works great. Looks like it also went ahead and installed Pillow, which is good. This tutorial here said to install Pillow as well, but I'll go ahead and do that. Both of those things. Okay, so that's the installing. Let's do some importing. I don't know if you remember, but those are different things. Installing puts it in the environment, and then importing puts it into my notebook or my script file, whichever is the case. So let's get this here. We're going to get image from pill, and it says we also need just pixel sort from itself. Okay. From Run that code. Okay, that seems to have worked. Nice. So far, so good. So let's see what else. What does it say to do here? So it's saying you need to open an image, which is fine. But then how do we run these different functions on it? That's the question. So this is what it looks like in a command line. So you would invoke the pixel sort scripts, and then you would do these things to it, and you provide different parameters for it. What I'm not sure about is how do we provide parameters in the module version. But I'm not sure, but I'm happy to figure it out. This, by the way, is based on a concept by Kim Asendorf, who did images, who did this in processing. We're going to be looking at P5.js later, which is based on processing. But Kim Asendorf did these really cool images. Hopefully they're still online. No, they're not. Let's try this one. No, okay. So well, he did these images of clouds and aerial views of islands. Really interesting stuff. So this is kind of the original pixel sorting person, and this is how these are some of his works. I really like this one, and oh, it looks like he has a Tumblr. Okay, great. So this is what pixel sorting is going to do to an image. You can kind of see what this is. This is an island, an aerial view of an island, and looks pretty different, but you can still see the forms, and you see certain things jump out that you might not have noticed otherwise. It's a beautiful kind of transformation. So that's something that I think works really well, especially for natural imagery. It does not work as well for people or like portraits. In fact, so I'm going to maybe try to find an image to work on and then see if we can try it out. So this is because this is a notebook, I can upload some images here and then work on them, but this is going to be a temporary storage place for them. Let me find an image to work on. Unsplash.com is a great place to find high resolution stock photo kind of things, and quite a few of them are natural imagery. I mean, your mileage will vary. Some of these are weird, but if you want to look for something in particular, let's just say mountain, just to kind of go with Kim Asendorf's theme, and see what we can find. These are all free to use. That's another important feature of Unsplash images, that they are free in the sense of no royalties or licenses required. You can just use them or do anything with them. It's taking a bit to load for some reason. Let me try this again. The one note about these images, though, is that they are incredibly large, high-resolution images sometimes, so it's useful usually to scale them down a bit before you start trying to glitch them. So I don't know what's happening here. The website's taking its time. Let's try a different search to see what happens. Okay, well, maybe they're having some server issues. There's another site, Pexels, which does this as well. So we can try them and see what we can get. That actually is a pretty good one. Let's go ahead and take a look at this file. Okay, well, I'm just downloading it. So this is called landscapemanperson.jpg. Looking at it now, I don't actually like that one as much. Let me see if, oh, you know what I should look for? I should look for, I'm gonna look for like fireworks images. I bet that would look pretty cool. Pixel sorted. And you know, it's July. We've been doing things with fireworks recently. So that's kind of thematically appropriate. Here we go. This should be interesting. Let's try. Oh, it's a heart. Oh, this one. I bet this one will look really good. Let's try this one. So it's a free download. Thank you to Peter Spencer for uploading this and allowing me to use it. I'm going to go ahead and download this. Let me see how big this image is. Okay, this image is enormous, like they often are. So I'm going to do a quick little scaling on it, and then I know you can't see what I'm doing here. I'm just using Glimpse, which is my Glimpse is actually, it's a port of GIMP, and it works. I find it a little bit easier to work with than GIMP. but both of them are open source and meant to be alternatives to Photoshop. Photoshop is great, obviously, but it's not cheap, and you can probably get illegal copies of it or something. But I don't want to encourage that, and also I'm also not used to it. I find like whenever I do get on a computer with Photoshop, it takes me a while to figure out what the heck I'm doing. Whereas GIMP, I kind of already know it, and even though GIMP is clunkier in a lot of ways, and Glimpse is still pretty clunky, it's it's free, right? To me, it's worthwhile to kind of deal with the clunkiness to save, $300-400 on Photoshop, whatever it would be. So now I've uploaded my fireworks file, and I've got it here. I'm going to rename it just to make it simpler to address in my code. I'll just call this fireworks.jpg, and hopefully this works on JPEGs. I guess we'll find out. I think you might have to, some of these pixel sorting scripts, you have to convert it to a PNG first. But hey, we're about to find out. So let's see if we can find in the documentation what to do with this. It says, okay, so all the different intervals are the same, all the different functions are the same. Okay, I guess, right? So let's see. Let's just try the really basic implementation right here. So it looks like you just open the image with the image module, and then you run pixel sorting on it, and something happens. So, okay, I can do that. So I'm going to, let's try it. Probably it has just default parameters, so we'll see. So what do we need to do to open it? Yeah, okay, so it's just image and then open, and now we need the path to the image. So I think I know the path, but I like to copy it from here because sometimes, it's a little different, and especially the /content part is not, like I don't remember that usually, so that's something that's unique to Colab notebooks, the way they're set up. Okay, so let's see. No errors, that's okay. So far I've not done anything. If I understand this, all I've done is I've read this image file into memory as an image, and so now it's a particular kind of Python object that has things like dimensions and color depth and other things that are associated with images. I probably could display it here in the notebook, but I don't think I need to. So that's it read into memory, and now I guess I just run pixel sort on it. Okay. So let's see, but I think I want to make sure to save this as a file. So maybe, I'm not sure how to write the output of this as a file. Okay, we'll just try it this way. We'll say new image equals pixel sort, sort image. And this, it may take a few seconds to actually run the pixel sorting algorithm. Looks like it's done. Let's see. Sometimes you can just name a variable in the notebook and it'll just display it. There it is. Hey, great. Yeah, okay, pretty good. I think I would have preferred vertical sorting instead of horizontal, and I will definitely try that, but you can start to see it definitely worked. That's pretty cool, actually. But let's make sure I can save this as a file so I can compare different versions and then start trying to play with the parameters. I think it's just going to be new image.save and then give it a file name. First, I'll call this first try. And I'll call this one PNG because I'm pretty sure they are actually, this image that it generated is actually in PNG format and not JPEG format. So let me see if this will work. If it does, I should get a new image over here. That is the image I just saw, and yeah, there it is. So that's that image, and I can download this and do other things with it, share it and manipulate it further if I want to. But that's pretty good, and that's that pixel sorted image. So now, let me put all this together into one cell so I can iterate this. Let me see if I can figure out how to do parameters. I just kind of have to guess, I suppose. I don't really know. So let's think. I guess I could look at the source code and see if it's helpful. Literally, this documentation is not for the package. It's for the script file. So I need to figure out how it expects things like this. Like I want to be able to say, like I random C20, that kind of thing. If anybody watching this, by the way, knows how to do this, then let me know, but I'm going to try a few things. So the main thing I want to try first is the angle, and you would normally do that with the -A. I don't know. I mean, this could be done, implemented in various ways, so. Okay, so pixel sort, it would be here, I guess. So what if I just did A equals, let me just try like, just like A equals 90. If that's not the right way to do it, yeah. So that's the thing, you'll probably get errors like this. Also could expect a dictionary. Let's try a dictionary. That didn't work. Okay, let's look at the source code. I guess that's all I can think of to try. Let me see. Do we have the source code here? From here? We do not. Oh, files? Yeah, here we go. This is also on GitHub, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, it's a bunch of files that go together. So let's see, I guess you're not looking at what I'm looking at, but I'm trying to understand how it parses the arguments, like, or where it sends the parsed argument, because that might give me a clue about what I need to do here to send the argument. It does seem to work a little differently, because usually it's you pixel sort and then you provide the file name as a parameter and then everything else as other parameters, but this is just loading it as like the single parameter, and so it's not labeled. So I don't know, I mean, this shouldn't work. Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. This actually tells me where the error was. Let me see if I can open it this way. So it says this was the error. If you're looking at the error messages here, Python is great about error messages, by the way. So it's saying that it looked like, oh, actually, wait, look, this is telling me what it expects the function. So it's looking at, okay, wow. So actually, you just provide them as options, but okay, maybe it's just angle. Let me try it that way. So I'm getting closer here. Can I just give it like that? Okay, it seems like it had a hard time with, it understood that I was trying to tell it what angle to use, but I didn't want that as a string. Maybe it wants it as an, oh yeah, I think this is working. Sorry, I've been kind of mumbling to myself as I go here, but this is how I figure things out. So I think it just, I needed to name, not with the abbreviation, but the full name of the parameter, an equal sign, and then an integer for the value. This is a transformation that needs an integer, which is 90, or in this case, a whole number. So that's it at angle 90. And I should have changed the file name. Let me run that again with the new file name so that I can make sure that this is going to be a new file that I can compare to the original, although what I just did overwrote the original, so I won't be able to do that, but let me see what 90 is. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it works. Oh, good. Yes, yes, yes. That's what I wanted. The image is not as amazing as I thought it might be. I will say that. I think that I was hoping there would be more interesting things going on here than as opposed to down here, but it definitely worked as far as the angle of the sorting that I wanted it to do. So that's awesome. Great. Let me just try, what if I do not 90? So it starts off, it's like 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. What if I give it, what if it, like, what's the opposite of 90 in that? So not 90. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Not 90, but 270. Let's try, let's see what happens if we give it 270. I think if I'm doing that right, that'll, instead of going down, it'll go up, if that makes sense. Or it'll reverse the, it'll still be vertical, but the other way, whichever it is. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it did, but, well, actually, yeah, it did more interesting stuff up near the top, so that's pretty cool. I like that. Okay, so that's pixel sorting in a Colab notebook. There's lots of other parameters you can apply. Now that I figured out how to apply them, I guess I could show you some more. But it's partly the exploration of doing glitch art, is just sort of try things out and see what happens. This documentation is not super helpful in terms of explaining it. I can kind of try to explain it though, if that makes sense. But basically, I need to come up with a diagram of this, or like visual tool for this. I will for the tutorial. But if you think about, I'm gonna have to sort of wave my hands around, or maybe I can draw something on. Maybe I can draw something on this piece of paper. No, I'll just do it later. But if you think about how an image is an array of pixels, and there are different chunks of that image where there's kind of contiguous similar colors. Think of like a cloud on a blue sky, and that cloud would be different shades of white within a blue field. What the pixel sorting algorithm is doing is it's finding those chunks of similar colors, like the blue for the sky and the white shades of white for the cloud, and saying, hey, these are similar. Let's take a line of these, and instead of just printing them in the order that they naturally appeared, let's sort them by what shade of white they are. And so instead of it being like maybe the white value would have looked like this originally, it's going to look like this now. Let me do, I can draw that, right? So let's say you have an image with a cloud in it, right? So let me see. I need to make sure that I can hold this up here. So there's my cloud image, right? And then let's imagine like a single line across that image. And like, let's imagine we're the computer, we're going across that line. And as we go along that line, we're paying attention to what color of white it is. So let's flip that sideways. So let's take that view of that line, and instead of looking at it just as a shade of white, let's look at that shade of white as a Y value, like a value that goes up. So if we put that on a graph, let's say the bottom of the graph is totally white, the top of the graph is dark. You might have it look something like this to mimic this. So this is a way of saying, like, as it scans along this line, it starts off kind of dark, but then it gets a little bit lighter, but there's little regions where it goes up and down like that. So this is a way that a computer processes an image, right? It goes line by line. You can see my notes up there too. So what pixel sorting is doing is it's saying, okay, let's take some part of that. Let's say that part of it that's more or less similar, and let's rewrite that line of this image. So instead of it following that natural shape, now it's going to follow. So everything else will be the same, but this part is going to look like something else. Like it's going to flatten that out into a single line. And that creates a streak-looking effect that you get, because it looks like this has just somebody just sort of dragged that line across in an editor or something. And obviously you do this thousands of times down the image, and the parameters of the program figure out where to put these lines for where to start a sort row and where to stop, and then what angle of sorting to look in, and so on. So that's what these interval functions let you control for this script. This script is created by the way. So Kim Masendorf came up with the original concept and did the processing scripts. Looks like this is Bernard Zhao is the person who made a Python package for this script, but this actual script is by Satyarth is the name of the person. That's their GitHub username. I don't know their real name, but that's who really gets the credit for the code that we're using here. And the code is, yeah, I mean, the threshold is where you can create the change the borders for how big those chunks are going to be, how fuzzy the edges of them are going to be. You can also randomize them. You can do all kinds of interesting things. I really recommend playing with this, but the way that this is written is a little confusing. So when you choose an interval function, so that's going to be one of your major choices, you then get to choose from this list. So you could say, if you want to give it an interval function, you have to say, I want to use random, or edges, or threshold, or waves, or file edges, or none. And this explains some of the different implications of those choices, but by default it's threshold. And honestly, I think you're really going to want to do threshold, maybe edges. But you really probably want to do one of those two. I don't really like the look of the random one because it just looks chaotic. And I think that you want to have the right kind of chaos with this kind of work so that it's unpredictable but not just noise. And I think sometimes if things are too random, they can look just like noise. Now within this, you also have the ability to choose a different sorting function. So here you can also specify a sorting function, and you have to give it one of these values. You can sort by lightness, by hue, by saturation, by intensity, or by minimum. And then this also affects like the length of the streaks that you're creating, and you can also set a maximum length for the streaks that you end up generating. It's, again, a lot of things to play with. I think probably the first things to play with would just be changing the upper and lower thresholds, and that can be pretty interesting and get some pretty different results. I've been going over an hour. I should wrap it up. I got pretty excited here. Let me just try it let me try the threshold example just to see what difference it makes, and then I'll wrap things up here. So we got angle 270. I like that angle. Let's try, and let's make sure I look at the actual full name of that. I think it's probably just going to be, oh man, I got to look at how the code was written. Remember how I got that error earlier? And I need to make sure I'm writing these the same way. I'll say threshold, I'll just say, yeah, we'll just try it. Threshold upper, and it's 0.8 by default. Let's make that lower. Let's make that 0.5. And then actually, let's just do that. Just change the upper threshold, and then we'll try if this works, then we'll try the lower threshold too. So now if I've written that incorrectly, it'll tell me. So it didn't like that argument. So what arguments was it expecting? That's the question. Did not like threshold upper. See, this just has to do with the idiosyncrasies of how the guy wrote the name of this parameter in the actual code. Looks like upper threshold is working. Oh, and I forgot to change the file name. Yeah, okay. Well, this will probably look different, hopefully in a way we can tell. And yeah, it basically just looks a lot less sorted. It looks a lot less of less interesting. So let's take this up. So let's make this all the way up to 1, and let's try this again. There we go. That's quite different. You can see it's basically sorted everything. It's cast a very wide net for what it considers a discrete sortable chunk, and it's sorted quite a lot of pixels together, and it ends up being kind of mushy. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's see what else we can do. Sorry, I'm getting excited about this. Let's try. Let's also try to sort by. Let's sort by hue. Right? Why not? That'll be sorting function. So again, we have to kind of guess what the name of the parameter is, but let's try sorting function. And let's try to give it a string and see if it likes that. so far. Oh, I forgot to change the file name again. I should write a function that will automatically change the file name so that I don't do this. Okay, so let me rewind. Let me get this one back the way it was, because I want to compare these. Move that over here. So now I'm recreating this image that I just looked at. Now I'm going to do this again with hue as the, hopefully, as the thing to sort by. Let's see. I still have 2 viewers, so hello, whoever you are. Thanks for sticking around. Let's see if this one looks okay. Nice, okay, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. It's really done some interesting things in the middle here. That's pretty cool. So, and it makes sense because it keeps each of the original bursts together a little bit more, but still kind of collapses them within themselves. So you see them sort of becoming these sort of mushy waves. I really like the middle part of this. The edge, the top and bottom are just okay, but this bit here is definitely, that's doing something for me. I like that. So yeah, as you see, it's a lot of trial and error with this as well. We're not, in this case, I'm not really even digging into the actual function. I'm just asking the program to do different things, and it's already built to do these things, so we just have to figure out the right way to ask it. And then we don't know what the outcome is going to be for our particular image, so it's still very much a trial and error process, just like these other glitch methods. So pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. If you have any questions or comments before I do, go ahead and do that. Get those in now, because I'm about to wrap it up here. Just a quick look ahead to tomorrow. So what I'm going to do, what I'll probably spend the afternoon doing, is creating hopefully 2 more tutorial videos, one on the hex edit method and then one on pixel sorting. And if I can figure out how to do it, I'll also do one on data moshing. Yeah, I'm still thinking about how to do that. And that's going to take me all day probably to do those videos. But hopefully, though, I've ordered a little adapter that'll help with my microphone, so that should actually save a lot of my editing time. So if I can record my audio and video together to begin with, I won't have to deal with that. Anyway, I'm going to work on those. So students, take a look at the Glitch Studies Manifesto as well, and then keep trying out these different methods and see how they go. I gave you kind of a quick demo now, so maybe that helped, and you can look at this and then work your way through it, but I'll make a more standalone set of tutorials that you can look at on your own. And basically, I'm trying to create like a buffet of options for this assignment, and you've got lots of different glitch methods. You as a creative worker are hopefully thinking about what kinds of things you want to glitch and why. You don't have to have an overarching meaning or a message with art, but I think it helps to start with at least a theme or like a set of things to try that have something to do with each other, because then that gives you a bit more coherence and it lets you understand those works in relation to each other. So if you think like for Bianca's example that I showed you of portraits, like she didn't mean, I don't think she set out to create like a critique of representations of women, or like a meditation on that, like all the politics of women as subjects of art, and she didn't mean to do that initially. She just had these portraits of women. She just found a bunch that she liked and then ran it through the script. But I think by generating it, what she ended up doing is creating something that invites us to critique the history of representation of women's bodies in art. And I think that's pretty cool. So it kind of had this point in it that we discovered as we talked about it and looked at the work. So that can be the case for you as well. I'd say start with a theme, just something you're interested in. It can be totally random too. I mean, other students worked on, I mean, random as far as, you know, compared to others. Like Bianca's had a really cool idea. Others, oh yeah, so another student looked at images that were generated by machine visioning software, and then she glitched those images that machine visioning was using. I thought that was fascinating. Sandra did that work. Christina did works of empty places, so finding empty places around campus and taking her own pictures of those and then glitching those to kind of underscore the creepiness and the silence of those kind of quiet moments in the middle of the night that you can find if you look for them, even in a busy place like college campus. It's actually very quiet right now, by the way. That's why I don't go there often, and I try to avoid going there if I can, because it's just frankly really sad to be on campus right now. It's just so quiet. Anyway, those are the ways in which, Christina was looking for a particular emotion. Sandra had like an overarching idea. Other students had other ideas that were really cool last time I did this project. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with as well if you're doing this for my class. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up here. I might, by the way, do some more live streaming today as I kind of work on these things, just to have some content to put out there, I guess, and invite other people to see what I'm seeing, see what I'm doing, in case they're interested. But I think this is a good point to wrap it up because it's about lunchtime. And all right, well, thanks for watching. Thanks, Mom, for watching me streaming today. I hope it was interesting. And anyone else who was watching too, I hope it's interesting. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.